Yesterday, a layperson asked Luangpu, "When I practice, the mind seems to decline and becomes restless. No matter how hard I try to fix it, it doesn't improve. What should I do?" Luangpu replied, "Don't do anything to it. Just know it as it is. When the mind declines, becomes restless, or grows dull and confused, oh, everything feels dark, and the mind dislikes it. Know that disliking. Don't fix it. When the mind is restless, simply know that the mind dislikes the restlessness. There's no need to make it calm. When the mind is dark and unclear, know that it is dark. When dislikes toward that darkness arises, know that disliking. Sometimes the mind becomes happy, and we get absorbed in that happiness. This is the opposite of the first case, where the mind declined. As we practice, the mind may develop and improve. We then delight in it, yet fail to see that delight. This also doesn't work. The mind then clings to samadhi, clings to happiness, clings to tranquility. It clings to the taste of peace and delights in it. But tranquility is impermanent. It fades away. Then trouble begins. The mind has become attached. And when it no longer gets what it once had, it feels distressed and tormented. So we hold to this principle. We observe our own mind and see it as it is. When greed arises, know that there is greed. When anger arises, know that there is anger. When delusion arises, know that there is delusion. When the mind is calm, know that it is calm. When it is restless, know that it is restless. When it's happy, know that it's happy. When it is suffering, know that it is suffering. After knowing the state that has arisen in the mind, know one layer deeper. Whether the mind is pleased or displeased with that state, be aware of it. When happiness arises, first know that happiness is present. Next, see more deeply that we are delighting in that happiness. We like it. Know that we like it. If we fail to notice, we've already missed it. It seems good. We know that the mind is happy. But without seeing the attachment to that happiness, it isn't truly good, only partial. When suffering arises and resistance appears, don't try to get rid of it. Simply know that the mind dislikes it. The mind is suffering and wants only happiness. Know the liking and the disliking. Know one layer deeper. Therefore, whenever a state arises in the mind, first know what has arisen. The next step is to know the mind's reaction to that state, whether liking or disliking has arisen. If we say we observe the mind and see greed, anger, or delusion, that is not enough. When greed, anger, or delusion arises and we dislike it, that must also be known. If wholesome states arise and we like them, that too must be known. Merely knowing whether the mind is wholesome or unwholesome is still not enough for development. There is still a long way to go. Remember? First, know the state present in the mind. Second, if liking or disliking arises toward it, know that with mindfulness. Throughout the day, feelings arise in the mind following contact through the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind. They may be happiness or suffering, wholesome states or greed, anger, and delusion, constantly changing. Mindfulness of this already takes us halfway. Know more deeply. When liking arises, know it. When disliking arises, know it. When that occurs, equanimity arises. When liking and disliking are known with mindfulness, they cease automatically. There is no need to make them cease. They cease on their own. For example, practice has been going well, but today the mind suddenly becomes restless. First, know that the mind is restless. Second, the mind dislikes it, knowing the disliking. As a result, When liking or disliking are known with mindfulness, they cease and the mind becomes equanimous. All unwholesome states cease by themselves, because in truth, they are already ready to cease. They arise and pass away every moment. Sometimes we wonder, the mind has been angry for so long. Why hasn't it gone away? It's because the mind is neither stable nor equanimous. When the mind is not stable and not equanimous, wisdom cannot arise. What eradicates defilements is wisdom, not samadhi. But we do need a stable and equanimous mind, that's samadhi, to support the arising of wisdom. So we train ourselves to read our own mind. We see a woman and the mind is drawn to her. Lust arises. First know that lust has arisen. Then we see that when a defilement arises, the mind has two options, to go along with it or to resist it. For example, when we see a beautiful woman and fail to notice the mind's liking, that liking takes over, and the mind follows the power of lust, chasing after her, trying to win her over. Or when we see someone as unattractive, the mind dislikes them. The person is my enemy. Anger arises, and the mind tries to push that person away and oppose them. On one side, there is clinging. On the other, rejection. This is liking and disliking. So from now on, we learn to observe the mind more closely and deeply. It's not enough to know whether the mind is happy or unhappy, wholesome or unwholesome. We need to know further. When happiness arises and the mind delights in it, know so. When suffering arises and the mind is displeased, know so. When wholesome states arise and delight appears, know so. When unwholesome states arise and aversion appears, know so. Know this reaction of the mind. The moment we recognize liking and disliking, they cease immediately. The mind becomes stable and equanimous. This equanimity arises through the power of mindfulness and is supported by samadhi, the samadhi of stable and equanimous mind. By using mindfulness to recognize the mind's non-equanimity, the mind becomes stable and equanimous on its own. This is a method of practice for those who do not attain jhana. Jhana is another path, but people in this era tend to have short attention spans. Don't set your hopes on attaining jhana. There's no need to force it. Even after many years, it often doesn't succeed because the mind is restless and easily distracted. So we practice in the way that's possible for us. When the mind is very restless, we can pay homage to the Buddha and chant, recite Putto, or be aware of the breath. Whatever works. Then we develop one step further into a stable samadhi. Paying homage, chanting, reciting Putto, following the breath, or watching the abdomen rise and fall, all these lead to a calm type of samadhi. We then develop further into a samadhi that is stable and equanimous. When we are mindful of the state that is present, the mind stabilizes on its own. For example, we recite Putto as a home base for the mind. When the mind wanders into thinking and forgets Putto, the moment we recognize that it has wandered, the wandering mind ceases. A stable mind arises. This means we have begun to develop good samadhi. We develop samadhi further, not only stability, but also equanimity. Remember what Luangpu often says? Be mindful of the body and the mind as they truly are, with a stable and equanimous mind. When we are mindful of the state that is present, the mind stabilizes on its own. When the mind is deluded and we know it, the delusion ceases and a stable mind arises. When anger is present and we know it, the anger ceases. The agitated mind completely ceases and the mind becomes stable. After practicing for a while, we begin to see a deeper level. The mind can be stable, yet not equanimous. It still likes wholesome states and dislikes unwholesome ones. It still likes happiness and dislikes suffering. Here again, we rely on mindfulness. When liking arises, know it. When disliking arises, know it. Liking and disliking cease, and the mind becomes equanimous. Do you remember what Luangpu often reminds us? Be mindful of the body and the mind as they truly are, with a stable and equanimous mind. A stable mind arises through mindfulness. By knowing the state that is present, the mind stabilizes automatically. Equanimity arises through mindfulness. By recognizing the mind's non-equanimity, it becomes equanimous on its own. The mind is then both stable and equanimous. At this point, samadhi is stable and well established. The next task is to cultivate wisdom. The purpose of samadhi practice is to cultivate a mind that is stable and equanimous. The purpose of cultivating wisdom is to develop right understanding. All objects known by the mind, and even the mind itself, are subject to the three characteristics. So at the stage of practicing calming samadhi, we remain mindful of the mind. The mind then becomes stable and equanimous, and good samadhi arises. After that, we do not focus on the stable and equanimous mind itself. By being mindful of the body, we see its three characteristics. To know the body in this way, a stable and equanimous mind is required. With mindfulness of feelings, pleasant and unpleasant, when the mind is stable and equanimous, we see the three characteristics of feelings. When wholesome and unwholesome states arise, knowing them with a stable and equanimous mind allows us to see their three characteristics. Thus, the purpose of practicing calming samadhi is to cultivate a stable and equanimous mind. The purpose of vipassana is to see that all fabrications, both material and mental phenomena, including the mind itself, are subject to the three characteristics. What we seek to see is that all things reveal the three characteristics. Therefore, the aim of calming samadhi practice is to cultivate a mind that is stable and equanimous. The aim of vipassana practice is to see the three characteristics.